I have been sitting with this file for the better part of the morning, and I have to be honest with you, it feels heavy.
Heavy how?
And I don't mean physical weight, although it is, pretty substantial. I mean the density of the information.
Ah, I see.
Usually when we prep for these deep dives, we're looking at public-facing documents. Earnings reports, press releases, maybe a white paper or two.
Sure.
Things that are designed to be read, designed to be digested, and frankly, designed to spin a narrative.
Sanitized. That's the word I usually use. Most financial analysis is sanitized for public consumption. It's polite.
Exactly. It's, we faced some headwinds in Q3, or we are cautiously optimistic about the consumer. This document we have today, it is not polite.
No, it's not.
It is not sanitized. It's titled Manal Mehta's Market Intelligence, and reading it feels less like browsing a newsletter and more like, I don't know, finding a confidential threat assessment left on a chaotic desk at a hedge fund at 3 in the morning.
That is a very specific vibe, but you're spot on.
Right.
It has that kinetic, almost aggressive energy. We're looking at a document that claims to utilize a multi-INT strategy.
Multi-INT.
Right. Now, for the listeners who haven't spent time in the intelligence community or high-level forensic analysis, that stands for multi-intelligence.
Okay.
It's the practice of layering different types of data signals.
Yeah.
Intelligence, human intelligence, forensic accounting, to build a picture that no single source could possibly provide on its own.
It's the synthesis that scared me a little, because usually you have your macro guy who talks about interest rates, your tech guy who talks about AI, and then your biotech guy who's over here talking about molecules.
Or they all stay in their lanes.
Mehta throws them all into a blender. The premise here seems to be that you cannot find alpha, true market-beating returns if you stay in your lane. You can't understand the stock market if you don't understand the legal definition of a chicken wing.
And you cannot understand the future of the global economy if you don't understand the specific brain circuits involved in waking up from anesthesia. It sounds absurd on the surface, I grant you.
A little, yeah.
But that is the mission of this deep dive. We're going to deconstruct this dossier. We're going to look at the world through the eyes of a ruthless investor who doesn't care about the narrative, only the mechanism.
The mechanism of money and the mechanism of biology. We are going to cover a lot of ground today. We've got the macro vibe shift, which explains why the easy money in tech is dead.
Dead is a strong word, but yeah, that's the argument.
We've got the second order oracle, which is my favorite part, finding trade ideas in the weirdest news headlines. And we're going to end in the lab with deep science that borders on science fiction.
It's a lot to unpack, but we have to start at the top. The executive synthesis.
Right. Mehta calls this first section the macro vibe shift. And the first thesis is something called the Great Rotation. Now, we hear about sector rotation all the time on financial news.
Oh, constantly. Tech is out, utilities are in.
It usually feels like a gentle tide. This document describes it more like a capsize.
Capsize is the right metaphor. The argument Mehta is making is that the AI hype narrative, the dominant story of the last 2 years that artificial intelligence is a rising tide that will lift every single company, that narrative has structurally broken.
Broken. So it's over.
It's done, at least in the way we've been thinking about it.
That is a very contrarian take. I mean, NVIDIA is still a massive company. People are still using ChatGPT every day.
The hardware is still selling, yes. The foundational models are still getting better, but the market psychology has shifted. The thesis here is that capital is violently fleeing agentic AI and crowded software sectors.
Why? What's the catalyst for that?
Because the market is finally realizing that software, by definition, has zero marginal cost of reproduction. If AI makes coding cheaper, if it makes creating software almost free, then software itself becomes a commodity.
If everyone can build an app in 5 minutes, no app is special.
Exactly. The value gets competed away. So where does the smart money go when bits and bytes lose their scarcity value?
It goes to atoms.
Precisely. It goes to the grimy stuff. Tangible assets, energy, materials, industrials, the things you can actually kick, the things that, no matter how good your chatbot is, you still need in order to survive.
And the dossier highlights a very specific, very ugly example to prove this point, a company called Chem1.
Yes, this is a vital case study. Chem1 is a major European chemical producer. They make vinyls, PVC, the basic building blocks of modern construction and plumbing.
So really fundamental stuff.
Absolutely. The document flags a credit event there.
A credit event. In plain English, that means they're broke, or close to it.
It means their bonds are trading at pennies on the euro. The market has effectively priced them at zero. Now, a casual observer might look at that and say, oh, bad management, or, a cyclical downturn.
Sure, blame the CEO.
But Mehta argues this is a geopolitical signal. Chem 1 is in what the document calls a death spiral because of two structural factors: crippling energy costs in Europe and a flood of cheap chemical supply from China.
So it's not just one company failing, it's the entire European industrial base failing.
It is the canary in the coal mine for European deindustrialization. If you cannot afford the energy to run the crackers that make the chemicals, you simply cannot compete on the global stage. It's a structural disadvantage.
But here is the alpha, right? The trade isn't just short Europe.
No. The trade is in the second-order effect. If Europe stops making chemicals, the demand for PVC doesn't disappear. You still need pipes. You still need vinyl siding for houses. You still need IV bags in hospitals.
So the production has to move somewhere else.
It creates a vacuum. Mehta's argument is that low-cost producers in other regions, specifically the U.S., which has cheap natural gas in certain emerging markets, will step in and capture that market share. They'll absorb that demand.
So you buy the American or Asian chemical company that's going to eat Chem 1's lunch.
Exactly. We are entering a rotational bull market in tangible assets because the world has realized you can't eat software. And ironically, you can't build an AI data center without copper, concrete, and cooling fluid. It all comes back to atoms.
It's a pivot back to reality. But that pivot leads us directly into the second macro thesis, which I found honestly quite chilling. It's called the labor bifurcation, or as the Dossier calls it, the barbell economy.
This is the most uncomfortable part of the analysis for anyone who works a white-collar job. It challenges the fundamental assumption of the middle class, the idea of a stable career ladder.
Visualize a barbell. You have a giant heavyweight on the left, a giant heavyweight on the right, and a long, thin, fragile bar in the middle.
That thin bar is the middle class of the cognitive workforce. The thesis is that AI is not creating a broad productivity boom where everyone gets 10% better at their job.
Right, the utopian vision.
The utopian vision is dead. Instead, it is aggressively hollowing out the middle. It's commoditizing any cognitive work that is routine, predictable, or based on pattern matching.
So let's define the weights. Who is on the ends of this barbell?
On one side, you have low-cost labor, manual labor, service work, jobs that are still cheaper to pay a human to do than to design, build, and maintain a robot for. Think landscaping, elder care, things like that.
Okay, that makes sense. The physical world.
And on the other side, and this is where all the money is consolidating, you have the stars, the elite experts, the top 1% of any given cognitive field. And the document drops a statistic here that made me double-check the math.
The lawyers.
The lawyers. Top partners at major law firms like Kirkland and Ellis are now billing, on average, $3,400 an hour.
$3,400 for 60 minutes of work. That is astronomical. It's hard to even process that number.
And that rate jumped 16% year over year.
16%.
That is vastly outpacing inflation. That is what Mehta calls alpha in human capital form. These people are becoming their own asset class.
But I have to ask the obvious question. We just spent a year hearing about how AI can pass the bar exam. We know AI can read contracts faster than any human.
Right.
If AI is so good at legal work, why are legal fees exploding? Shouldn't they be crashing?
That is the trap of linear thinking. It's the key to understanding the barbell. AI can do the junior associate's work. It can summarize the 5,000 pages of discovery documents. It can draft the standard non-disclosure agreement.
The grunt work.
All of it. That work is being demonetized. The price of it is going to zero. But the AI cannot look a CEO in the eye and say, do not take this deal. The Department of Justice will crush you, and here is why, based on the current political climate.
Judgment. It's pure human judgment.
Judgment. Strategic intuition. Accountability. You can't sue an AI for malpractice in the same way. The stars capture all the value because their judgment is now the only scarce resource in the building. Everything else is a commodity.
So the ladder is broken. The traditional path of being a junior associate, learning the ropes, and becoming a partner, that's gone. The junior associate is obsolete, but the partner is a god.
That's the core of the barbell thesis. And the people stuck in the middle, the ones doing routine analysis, basic coding, middle management, they are suffering from what the Dossier calls institutional sclerosis.
Sclerosis, hardening of the arteries, like the body, the corporation is getting clogged up.
And there was a specific call out here regarding Accenture. Now, this is reported chatter from inside the firm, but it fits the pattern perfectly. The claim is that senior staff at Accenture are being, and this is a, quote, strong-armed into using internal AI tools.
Strong-armed.
Basically, use the bot or you don't get promoted. It's a top-down mandate.
That sounds like management trying to force efficiency.
Yeah.
We paid for this AI, so you better use it. It's a return on investment play.
Exactly. But the ground truth, according to the dossier, is completely different. The source quotes internal chatter describing these expensive mandated tools as broken slop generators.
Slop generators. That is such a visceral, ugly phrase.
It is. And it implies a mess that you, the human, have to clean up. So you have a situation where management thinks they are becoming an AI-driven powerhouse. They're telling Wall Street about their efficiency gains.
Right.
But the workers on the ground are spending 3 hours fixing the slop the AI produced when doing it themselves from scratch would have taken 1 hour. It's a productivity tax, not a boom. It's a shadow work generator.
So you have the stars billing $3,400 an hour at the top, and the middle fighting with broken chatbots just to keep their jobs at the bottom of the white-collar world. That is a bleak picture of the corporate future.
It is. And it leads perfectly into the third macro thesis.
Yeah.
Because if the labor market is breaking, then the platforms that rely on that labor and the legal frameworks that protect them are breaking too. Thesis 3. The uninsurable platform.
This one targets the gig economy giants like Uber and Lyft, and also the social media giants like Meta.
It's targeting their legal shield. For the better part of a decade, these companies operated on a simple and brilliant arbitrage, which was socialize the risk, privatize the profit.
Okay, break that down. Uber says he's not our employee, he's an independent contractor. If he crashes the car, sue him, not us.
That's socializing the risk, pushing it out onto society and individuals. And Meta says, we didn't write that defamatory post, a user did. Section 230 protects us. We are just the bulletin board.
And Meta argues that shield is shattering.
Shattering. The document points to a recent verdict. $8.5 million against Uber in a passenger safety case. A jury explicitly rejected Uber's argument that they aren't responsible for the safety of the ride.
That is a massive precedent. If Uber is liable for the safety of every single ride,
The insurance math completely changes. The entire business model collapses, or at least it has to aggressively reprice. Uber has never had to pay the true cost of its operations because it offloaded that risk onto the drivers and their personal insurance. If the courts say, no, that's your risk, the margins evaporate overnight.
And the market is still pricing in robotaxis and massive growth, but it's ignoring this fundamental liability shift.
Completely ignoring it. And it's not just physical safety. The document highlights the psychological safety liability that's facing Meta.
Right, Mark Zuckerberg being grilled by Congress. We've all seen those clips.
But it's more than the clips. It's the discovery process in these lawsuits. The document notes that internal memos show Meta overruled 18 of its own well-being experts to keep beauty filters on Instagram.
18 of their own people said this is harmful.
18 experts said this hurts kids, it causes body dysmorphia, and management said, and I'm paraphrasing the document's take, keep it because we need the engagement growth to remain competitive.
Wow. When a jury sees that, that's not a tech problem anymore.
No, that is a gross negligence problem. That is tobacco industry level liability. We are talking about the potential for massive structured settlements that drain these companies of cash for decades. The alpha here is realizing that the biggest threat to big tech isn't a better algorithm from a competitor, it's a jury of 12 peers in a courtroom.
So to recap the entire macro landscape before we move on, buy atoms, not bits.
Because bits are becoming a commodity.
Be an elite expert or get automated into irrelevance. The barbell is real.
Find your niche at the edge.
And avoid the big platforms because the courts and their insurers are coming for them.
That is the executive synthesis. It's a roadmap for a harsher, harder, more physical world.
Okay, let's bring it down from that 30,000-foot view. Let's talk about specific trades. Section 2, the second-order oracle.
This is my favorite section. This is real intelligence work. It requires a specific type of brain, a different way of connecting dots.
The concept is taking event A, a headline that everyone sees, and finding event B, the financial ripple effect that nobody else notices. And we have to start with the chicken wings.
The boneless wing arbitrage. I love this one. It's so beautifully simple.
Event A. A federal judge in a fairly obscure case rules that pieces of chicken breast can legally be marketed and sold as boneless wings.
Now, most people see that headline and, they make a joke on Twitter. We know they're just nuggets, or society is a lie, and they move on.
I certainly did. I thought it was just funny.
But the oracle, the ruthless investor, asks a different question. Who benefits financially from the legal taxonomy of a chicken nugget?
Right. Follow the money.
And the answer, according to this dossier, is Tyson Foods. The kicker is TSN.
Walk me through the biology to finance pipeline here. Why does a giant poultry producer like Tyson care what a restaurant calls its chicken?
Think about the anatomy of a bird. It's simple biology. A chicken has two tiny wings and two massive breasts. In the industrial poultry industry, you are processing millions of birds every single day. You inevitably end up with a massive inventory imbalance.
You have way more breast meat than you have actual wing meat.
Correct. And historically, wings have become this premium product. Cultural demand for wings, the Super Bowl, sports bars,
Right.
is insatiable. People pay a premium for them. Breast meat, it's abundant. It's a commodity. It can be dry. It trades at a significant discount compared to the wing.
So you have a glut of the cheap stuff and a constant shortage of the expensive stuff.
Exactly, and that's a huge problem for a company like Tyson. This court ruling is effectively a bailout for their supply chain. It allows restaurants, their primary customers, to take that abundant, lower-cost breast meat, slap the label boneless wing on it, and sell it at a premium wing price point.
It's margin expansion via semantics. It's an accounting trick on the menu.
It is, and it expands the total addressable market for the breast meat. Restaurants can now buy more of it from Tyson to preserve their margins, especially during inflationary times. Tyson gets to clear its inventory glut without having to discount it. The whole system becomes more profitable, and Tyson's stock re-rates higher. The boneless wing isn't a menu item, it's an inventory management solution.
That is incredible. Just a completely hidden connection. Okay, next one. The downsized meal indicator.
This is another great one.
Event A. Major chain restaurants like P.F. Chang's and Olive Garden are shrinking their portion sizes. You're getting fewer breadsticks, a smaller bowl of pasta.
The first order interpretation is just shrinkflation. I'm getting less pasta for my money, this stinks.
Right. But interpretation B, the second order trade, is buy auto parts. Specifically, a company called Genuine Parts Company, ticker GPC.
It's a logical leap, but follow the chain. Why do restaurants shrink their portions? They do it because they can't raise their menu prices anymore. They know the consumer has hit a wall.
They've maxed out their credit cards.
Exactly. If Olive Garden raises the price to $25 for a bowl of pasta, people just stop coming. So instead, they shrink the bowl to protect their margin.
So smaller portions are a direct signal that the consumer is tapped out. They're financially strained.
Correct. And if that consumer is too financially stressed to pay for a full-size dinner, they're certainly too stressed to go out and finance a new $50,000 Ford F-150 at 7 or 8% interest.
So new car sales tank.
Which means the average age of the vehicle fleet on the road increases. People keep their old beaters. They drive them for 12, 13, 14 years instead of trading them in after 5.
And what happens to a 14-year-old car?
It breaks constantly.
The alternator goes, the brake pads wear out, the spark plugs need replacing, the timing belt snaps.
All of it. The aftermarket auto parts industry is fundamentally counter-cyclical. When the economy hurts, symbolized by that smaller breadstick, the repair business booms. You buy Genuine Parts Company because they sell the stuff you need when you can't afford the stuff you want.
It's the depression index of the stock market. The breadstick is the leading indicator for the spark plug. Okay, let's shift to the defense sector. Event A. The U.S. Navy hires a private firm to oversee its shipbuilding for the first time since World War II.
This is a deeply humiliating admission for the Pentagon. The Navy, the most powerful maritime force in history, is effectively saying, we have lost the internal cognitive capacity to manage our own projects.
They can't build ships anymore.
They can't manage the building of ships. They have hollowed out their own expertise over decades of outsourcing and relying on contractors. They don't have the project managers and engineers they once did.
So who wins from this? The document says the trade is to buy Booz Allen Hamilton, ticker BAH.
The consultants. The people with the clipboards and the PowerPoint presentations. The thesis here is grim, but incredibly profitable. If the Navy admits it can't manage a ship, can it manage a hypersonics program? Can it manage a cyber grid? Can it manage a complex logistics network?
Probably not. The rot is likely everywhere.
So this oversight model, privatizing competence, essentially will likely metastasize across the entire Department of Defense budget.
Yeah.
You aren't investing in the ship, you aren't investing in the steel, you are investing in the bureaucracy that manages the bureaucracy that builds the ship.
It's the most cynical, safe bet in Washington.
It is betting on institutional incompetence, and that is often a very, very winning bet.
One more from the Oracle section. The AI brain drain. Event A, top AI talent is fleeing Europe for the United States.
We see the headlines all the time. Europe regulates, America innovates. The AI Act in the EU, while well-intentioned, is seen by many top researchers as overly restrictive, and it's driving them to Silicon Valley.
But the trade isn't by Google or by Microsoft. It's by Prologis, ticker PLD, which is a warehouse real estate investment trust, a REIT.
This is a picks and shovels play on physics.
Yeah.
Those AI researchers coming to America aren't just, working on laptops in a coffee shop. They are training massive, energy-intensive models.
That requires compute.
And compute requires servers. Servers require racks. Racks require floor space, immense power, and sophisticated cooling systems. In other words, they require specialized buildings.
And Prologis owns those buildings. They're the landlord.
They are the biggest landlord in the logistics game, and they are pivoting aggressively into the data center space. The logic is simple. Don't bet on which AI model wins. Will it be Gemini, Claude, GPT-5? Who knows? It's too hard to predict.
Right.
But bet on the landlord who rents them the server space. No matter who wins, they all need a place to plug in their machines. It's a tangible bet on the U.S. winning the AI, expressed through concrete and square footage.
It connects back to the very first thesis, atoms over bits. Even the biggest bits bet AI is actually a real estate bet in the end.
Everything returns to the physical. You cannot have a digital cloud without a physical ground.
Okay, moving to section 3. The forensic watch list. This is where we put on the green visor and look for the rot. And we have to talk about Hasbro, the toy company, ticker HAS.
The toy company. The creator of Monopoly and Magic. The Gathering. They are playing a very dangerous game right now, according to this analysis.
The document flags insider selling.
Significant clustered insider selling. The CEO, a man named Christian Cox, sold over $10 million in shares recently. And he wasn't alone. It was a whole cluster of senior executives dumping stock around the same time.
Now, to be fair, executives sell stock all the time for tax planning, buying a house, divorce settlements. Why is this a particularly bright red flag?
Context is everything. Hasbro is currently pitching a massive turnaround narrative to Wall Street. They are going on TV, they're on their earnings calls, and they are saying, we are pivoting to digital gaming. We are going to be the next video game giant. Magic, the Gathering arena is the future.
So if that story is true, if they really are on the cusp of a huge digital transformation, the stock should skyrocket in the next 2 or 3 years.
Exactly. If you, as the CEO, truly believed your company was about to become the next Nintendo or Activision, would you be dumping $10 million in stock right now?
No. You'd be holding on for dear life. Maybe even buying more.
You would be buying, or at least holding. The action, the selling, directly contradicts the words, the growth story. The divergence between the public growth story on the earnings call and the private liquidation in their personal accounts is the signal. It suggests the digital pivot isn't working as well as they claim, and the insiders are cashing out at the top of the hype cycle before the bad news hits.
Then there's Angie, ticker ANGI. It used to be called Angie's List. This is listed not just on the watch list, but as a death watch.
It's a race against the clock, a really ugly setup. They have a $500 million debt maturity hitting in 2028.
That's still a couple years away. In corporate terms, that can feel like plenty of time.
In healthy credit markets, yes. But for a distressed company like Angie, that is tomorrow. The problem isn't just the debt, it's the fundamental business model. Angie is a middleman. You need a plumber, you go to their site, they give you a list, and they charge the plumber a fee for that lead.
And we just talked about agentic AI in the first section.
Exactly. We're connecting the dots. If I can ask my phone's AI assistant, find me a 5-star rated plumber, check his reviews, verify his license, and book him for Tuesday at 2 p.m., and the AI does it instantly.
The value of Angie's List goes to 0. It's obsolete.
The AI is the ultimate middleman. And unlike Angie, the AI doesn't need to charge the plumber a massive lead generation fee to stay in business. The market is starting to believe that Angie's revenue will completely evaporate before they can pay back that $500 million in debt. They're being squeezed between a debt wall and technological obsolescence.
Grim, but let's flip the script. Let's talk about the contrarian high conviction bets. These are the ones where being right pays off huge because everyone else thinks you're crazy. First up is Sangamo Therapeutics, ticker SGMO.
This is a deep biotech play. The market prices this company as if it's already dead. Bankruptcy is fully priced into the stock. It's a penny stock.
But Mehta says to look at the IP at something called zinc fingers.
Right. Everyone is obsessed with CRISPR right now. It's the new hotness in gene editing. It's relatively cheap. It's easy to use. Zinc fingers is the older technology. It's harder to engineer. It's more cumbersome.
So why is it valuable?
But, and this is key, it has better specificity and safety in certain heavy-duty applications. It cuts DNA in a different way than CRISPR. Think of it like a specialized surgical tool versus a general-purpose scalpel.
So the company might be failing operationally, but the patents they own are gold.
Correct. The thesis is a classic sum of the parts analysis. The company, as an ongoing concern, might be worthless, but it holds foundational patents that big pharma companies might need for their own gene therapy programs. A single licensing deal or an outright buyout just for the IP portfolio triggers what the document calls a violent re-rating of the stock.
Violent upside, I like the sound of that. What about Geopark, ticker GPRK,
Oil and gas, South America.
which usually screams political risk? Colombia, where a lot of their assets are, has been unstable, to put it mildly.
And that's exactly why the stock is so cheap. The market looks at their Colombian assets, sees the headlines about the president there, and gets incredibly nervous. They apply a massive political discount.
But that's the first-order thinking.
That's the first-order thinking. The Oracle view, the second-order view, is that Geopark is quietly and aggressively acquiring assets in a place called Vaca Muerta in Argentina.
A dead cow formation.
It is one of the largest and highest quality shale formations on Earth. It is the Permian Basin of the Southern Hemisphere. The thesis is that Geopark is about to triple its total production using these new high-quality Argentine assets, but the stock is still being priced like a risky small-cap Colombian producer. You're buying massive growth for free because the market is looking at the wrong map.
And finally, on the contrarian list, Rockwell Automation, ticker ROK.
This brings us full circle to the macro thesis. If the world is deglobalizing, if supply chains are coming home, and we are rebuilding factories in the U.S. again, reshoring, how do we run them? We don't have enough workers. We have a structural labor shortage.
So we have to use robots. We have to automate.
And who makes the nervous system for the robots? Rockwell. They make the sensors, the PLCs, the programmable logic controllers, the software. They make what the Dossier calls the operating system of the factory floor.
So people see old industrial stock and think boring, low margin, cyclical, but Mehta sees an AI enabler.
It is a tech stock disguised in coveralls. If AI is going to move from the digital world of chatbots to the physical world of robotics and automation, it runs on Rockwell hardware and software. They're the picks and shovels.
Okay, hold on to your hats. We are leaving the stock market. We are now entering the synthesis engine. Section 4, this is what the Dossier calls killer science.
This is where the Dossier gets really weird.
Yeah.
But also, in a way, incredibly hopeful. It's about connecting the financial search for alpha with the pure scientific search for world-changing breakthroughs.
First up, the wake-up drug. Anesthesia.
Anyone who has had surgery knows the drill. They put you under, and then they wait. Anesthesia is a remarkably passive process. We pump you full of drugs to shut off your brain's consciousness circuits, and then we simply rely on your liver to metabolize those drugs over time.
It's imprecise, and it slows down the whole hospital. You're taking up a bed in the recovery room, you're groggy, maybe you're nauseous.
It's a huge bottleneck.
Yeah.
Mehta's report flags a recent discovery, a natural product called BN3.
Okay. What does BN3 do?
It specifically activates a very particular set of neurons in the brain, the VTA glutamatergic neurons.
VTA glutamatergic. English, please.
Think of your brain like a computer that has been put into sleep mode. Currently, to wake it up, we just jiggle the mouse and wait for the hard drive to slowly spin up. BN3 is the power button. It directly targets and forces the key neural circuits for wakefulness to fire. It instantly reverses the anesthetic state.
So you're not waiting an hour in a groggy recovery. You get a shot of BN3 and you're lucid in minutes.
That's the promise. The implications are enormous. It completely changes the economics of surgery. Faster throughput means more surgeries per day. Fewer complications from long recovery times means lower liability for the hospital. Less post-op brain fog in elderly patients means better long-term outcomes. It turns a passive recovery into an active on-demand switch.
That is worth billions. Billions. Okay, next, the longevity peptide. This one is called C43-4.
This is all about cellular trash. As we age, our cells accumulate junk misfolded proteins, damaged organelles, just debris. It's like a house that never gets cleaned. Eventually, the clutter gets so bad you can't move. The cell stops functioning properly and becomes senescent or die.
And C43-4 is the cleaning crew.
It's the signal that calls the cleaning crew. It activates a cellular complex called the APC, the anaphase promoting complex. It kickstarts the cell's internal garbage disposal and recycling system, a process called autophagy. In simple organisms like yeast and worms, it extended their lifespan dramatically.
But mice are not worms, and humans are certainly not mice.
True. This is where the killer experiment proposed in the Dossier comes in. They want to test this peptide in aged mice, but using a brand new technology called Visium HD.
Which is? What does that do?
It's called spatial transcriptomics. This is a massive leap in technology. Imagine the difference between just a list of all the cities in a country and a high-resolution satellite map of that country. Old gene sequencing just gave you a list of genes that were active. Visium HD allows you to see exactly where in a slice of tissue those genes are turning on or off.
So you can actually watch the mouse's liver get younger, cell by cell, pixel by pixel.
You can see the mechanism of youth. You can see the trash being taken out in real time at a molecular level. It moves longevity research from what was kind of like alchemy to true engineering. If you can map it, you can measure it. If you can measure it, you can fix it.
And finally, the most controversial one in this section, male infertility.
Specifically, a gene called TEX11. A mutation here causes a condition called azoospermia, which means zero sperm count, complete male infertility.
Which is currently incurable.
Currently. But the proposal here is to use CRISPR gene editing on stem cells taken from the testes. You take the spermatogonial stem cells out of the body, you use CRISPR to fix the single typo in the DNA, literally rewriting the genetic code back to the correct version, and you put the healthy edited cells back.
Germline gene therapy.
It fixes the source code. If this experiment works, that man could then father children naturally.
Yeah.
But it opens the ethical Pandora's box in a huge way. If you can fix infertility by editing the germline, you are editing the traits that get passed down to all future generations.
You are editing the future of the human species.
Yes, but from a purely market perspective, which is the lens of this document.
It's a desperate, massive, untapped market. People will pay anything for a family.
Precisely. It is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity waiting for a scientific and ethical breakthrough.
This document, it really forces you to zoom out. We've gone from chicken wings to germline editing in the span of, what, half an hour?
It's all connected. It's all about spotting the signal in the noise, whether that noise is a court ruling or a genetic sequence.
Before we wrap up, we have the last section. The global intelligence and private radar. Quick hits on things to watch.
Right, the private radar. Things not yet on the public markets, but are sending important signals.
We mentioned the $3,400 lawyer earlier. The dossier connects this to a new startup called Ineffable Intelligence.
A new European AI lab. But here's the kicker. It was founded by a group of alumni from Google's DeepMind, and they just raised a $1 billion seed round.
$1 billion. For a seed round, that is unheard of. A big seed round is usually a few $1,000,000.
It signals that the AI arms race is shifting into a new, incredibly expensive phase. It's no longer about who has the best chatbot. It's about building reasoning models. The next generation of AI needs to actually think, not just predict the next word in a sentence. And the cost of entry for that research is now astronomical. If you don't have $1 billion for compute power and talent, you aren't even at the table anymore.
And on the flip side of high-tech, Figure, the blockchain mortgage company.
They have a great vision. They want to put the entire mortgage lending process on the blockchain, disrupt the big banks, make getting a mortgage instant and transparent, but they just got hit with a major data breach.
The hackers broke their blockchain encryption.
No, that's the ironic part. The tech was secure, it was social engineering. Someone called their customer support line and tricked an employee into giving them access.
The human element.
Always the weakest link. You can have the most secure, cryptographically sound blockchain in the world, but if your support agent gives away the keys because they think they're talking to the CEO, it's all over.
And finally, a callback to our very first macro vibe shift. We're coming back to Chem 1, the dying European chemical company.
The vultures are circling. The document notes that distressed debt funds, the big hedge funds that specialize in bankruptcy, are fighting over the company's bonds, which are now trading at 2 cents on the euro.
Why would you fight over a corpse? 2 cents sounds like it's already worthless.
Because if the French government decides to bail them out to save jobs, which is a very politically likely scenario in France, that 2 cents on the euro could become 10 cents or 20 cents overnight. That's a 400% or even a 900% return. It's the ugly side of the Great Rotation. While we invest in the new winners, the vultures pick clean the carcasses of the old economy.
Okay. Deep breath. That was a lot.
It was a journey through the plumbing of the global economy, from the very big to the very small.
So let's synthesize. What is the key takeaway for the listener who's driving to work right now trying to process all this?
The single biggest takeaway is that the world is becoming physical again. The digital party, the era of zero interest rates and infinite software multiples, is over. The easy alpha of just buying a tech index fund is probably gone for a long time.
We are moving from a world of abundance to a world of scarcity. Scarcity of energy, scarcity of raw materials, and scarcity of true, irreplaceable human expertise.
And legal accountability for the platforms that had a free ride for 15 years. That free ride is over.
So when you see a headline, don't just read it. You have to interrogate it. Ask yourself, who loses? Who benefits? What is the second-order effect that no one is talking about?
Be the oracle in your own life.
I have one final provocative thought to leave you with based on all this.
Hit me.
We talked at length about the barbell economy, the hollow middle versus the stars.
Yes, the most unsettling part of the whole thesis.
If that is real, if AI is actively destroying the middle tier of white-collar work, where do you, the listeners, sit on that barbell?
That's the question that should keep you up at night.
Are you the $3,400 an hour expert? Do you have a skill so unique, so strategic, so human that no machine can replicate it? Or are you in the middle? Is your job a series of repeatable, predictable tasks?
And if you are in the middle, maybe it's time to start looking at those grimy assets in your own skill set.
Maybe the safest job in 2030 isn't prompt engineer, a job that might not even exist in 5 years. Maybe it's managing a shipyard or fixing a complex robot at a Rockwell factory.
Real skills for a real world.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay curious.